If you are a woman and you are experiencing symptoms, physical or emotional, that you don't understand, then there's an important question you need to ask yourself, and that is quite simply, could it be menopause? Now, I know most of us think of menopause as being something we don't have to consider until we're well into our late 40s, but the fact of the matter is, as many as 5% of women will experience premature menopause and perimenopause from as early as 20-year-old into 45. That is when we define premature menopause as happening, and it's very real. And until we understand the symptoms that surround that, we can go a long time not having answers to things that we are going through. The purpose of this video today is not to diagnose anything, but to help give you some answers to what you are going through. I'm going to go through 5 surprising symptoms of perimenopause and menopause to shift the discussion and make it more relevant for the people who are being affected by it every single day. The first surprising symptom that we're going to talk about today is greasy hair. Now, this is not a particularly damaging symptom. In fact, it might only be inconvenient or an aesthetic issue, but it can point to an underlying presence of perimenopause. So it's important to recognize that if you've found recently that your hair is getting greasier and greasier and you don't understand and you're using the same hair care regime, consider this. Greasy hair affects women because of hormonal changes. Now, it could be down to dehydration, which is another symptom of perimenopause and menopause that can cause the hair to produce more sebum, which gives it that greasy look. Sebum acts as a defense for hair against dry weather. But if there's an influx in sebum because of dehydration or because of those fluctuating hormone levels, then that greasiness is going to become apparent. And it can come as a surprise, especially if you've been doing the same thing with your hair for many years, maybe decades. It's something to note. It's one of the pieces of the puzzle that may be relevant to you. When I talk to women who finally understand that what they've been going through for sometimes years is perimenopause, it's these small pieces of the puzzle that can lead them to understanding what they're going through and getting the answers they need. Number 4 in our surprising symptoms of perimenopause and menopause is insomnia. This can be a really tricky one to navigate, but if you find that you are waking up in the middle of the night, not able to sleep, obviously, especially if that is coupled with a physical symptom like night sweats, then this could point to perimenopause or menopause. Insomnia can take lots of different forms. It could be restlessness in the middle of the night. It could be not being able to fall asleep. If this is unusual for you, or if you realize that over a number of months, maybe even years, it is causing you to have impacted sleep, then this is another piece of the puzzle that's important to recognize. Again, insomnia is often due to those fluctuating hormone levels that comes with perimenopause and menopause and shouldn't be ignored. Insomnia has many repercussions, including being drowsy throughout the day, dealing with fatigue, which is another symptom of perimenopause and menopause. It can affect you from a mood perspective. It can mean that you are getting colds more often, that your immune system is lowered simply because you're not getting enough sleep throughout the night. Remember that with all of these symptoms, there is help on the other side. There is a way to put your life back together if you are experiencing any or all of these symptoms and the symptoms that go well beyond the scope of this specific video. Do make sure to check out the resources below that I have put in the description box if you want support going through any of these symptoms or any of the other symptoms that may be affecting you right now. Number 3 in our surprising symptoms of perimenopause and menopause is one that most people have never even heard of, and yet it affects 18 to 33% of women. And this is burning mouth sensation. And it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. This can be an incredibly uncomfortable symptom and can take a while to figure out, because maybe you are someone who eats lots of chilies and you just assume that there's that lingering feeling, or you think maybe I've burnt my mouth on my coffee and it just doesn't seem to be going away. Burning mouth sensation is a very real thing. Now, I do need to say that along with these other symptoms that I've outlined so far, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you have burning mouth sensation that you are definitely going through menopause. In fact, it is a syndrome that affects men as well as women, but it is something that you need to pay attention to, especially if any of these other symptoms are present in your life. Burning mouth syndrome can be anything from a small bitter taste in your mouth to huge pain and discomfort that is ongoing. Number 2 in our list today of 5 surprising symptoms of perimenopause and menopause is brain fog. And this is one of the most common symptoms that I hear women talk about that they are not able to put their finger on, especially if they are below the age that we tend to traditionally think menopause must start at. Brain fog is a general term that can include anything from forgetfulness to memory loss. It can be as simple as never remembering suddenly where you put your keys when you used to be quite on it, to being disorganized, to forgetting names of people, to not remembering dates, to not knowing where you are when you walk into a room. This can be scary and it can be demoralizing. Many women who go through early or premature menopause will start to experience the symptoms of brain fog and think there's something really terribly wrong. I know for me, when I started experiencing brain fog, I went for about a year thinking that maybe I was developing some kind of early onset dementia. And my story is not unique. I talk to women all the time who have gone through that same scary feeling, wondering what on earth is going on. Again, brain fog has to do with the drops and the increases in hormonal levels, the huge fluctuations. Those fluctuations, especially in estrogen and testosterone, can play a huge part in your cognition, in your functioning of your brain. So if you notice that you're not as sharp as you once were, or you're finding that you can't remember names, places, dates, that you do not have the same level of awareness that you used to have, don't worry, you're not alone. There is help out there, and this is a very clear symptom of perimenopause. It's not to say that that is necessarily what's going on for you, but again, as I've said a number of times through this video, being equipped with this information may help you to find answers and support when you need it. Number 1 in our surprising symptoms of perimenopause and menopause is anxiety. This is by far one of the most debilitating symptoms that we've talked about today, and it can be crippling. Whether or not you've experienced anxiety in the past, the onset of perimenopause can increase levels of anxiety to a point where you cannot function. Or they could just be a mild anxiety that you carry with you on a day-to-day basis, sometimes getting worse, sometimes being relieved. The anxiety can manifest itself in worry, in nervousness. It could be the physical symptoms of anxiety, so heart palpitations, sweaty palms. If you have experienced anxiety in the past, if you are someone who already has a generalized anxiety disorder perhaps, then it could be that the onset of perimenopause increases that anxiety so that you are dealing with it at a much higher level more frequently. If you're not someone who has experienced anxiety in the past, then this very new sensation of increased levels of worry, increased levels of panic can be terrifying. If you are struggling with anxiety, make sure to check out the video in the description box below. This is a really useful approach to dealing with anxiety. I've also got videos in terms of introducing breathing techniques that will help you shift that anxiety because whatever the reason for the anxiety is, whether it has anything to do with menopause or not, You don't need to be living in a constant state of anxiety. You can bring relief to it. Check out those resources. They will help you. Now, look, I have outlined here 5 of the symptoms. There are dozens more. The important thing here is to start piecing your puzzle together. If you are experiencing any of the symptoms that I've outlined here in this video, or any of the other symptoms that I talk about in my other videos, it is possible that you are going through the early stages of perimenopause, and there is help out there. In the meantime, check out this anxiety video. It's only about 10 minutes long, and it will help to relieve some of that worry, some of that nervousness, some of that panic that you may be experiencing right now. I'll see you there.